Schools and classrooms are highly complex organizations. They are sites where there are a multitude of actions and reactions, inputs and processes, variables and changing environments, and differing local, regional and national expected learning outcomes, targets and outputs. The formula for success is never simple, partly as success is diversely defined and understood, and partly as perceived effectiveness varies across person, administration, region and time. Also, the mixture of factors affecting effectiveness is so complex that simple recipes are impossible. Effectiveness inevitably goes far beyond language medium and language outcomes, to embrace the full education of a student. Ultimately, effectiveness is about what is deemed best for the child and society, and not just for the future of a language. However, there is sufficient international research, grounded wisdom and accumulated expertise to make it possible to suggest key factors that need discussion and interpretation in effective bilingual schools and classrooms. This chapter attempts to provide a menu for that dialogue. Special attention needs to be paid to the continuous evolution and progression of the minority language in bilingual schools. This is due to the typically lower status of the minority language, the Anglophone nature of much mass media and the dominance of common denominator majority languages outside the school. Such bilingual schools can considerably develop the minority language learnt at home so that it has more uses and potentially can be used in more domains, e.g. reading, writing, preparation for employment. The child's use of the home language is raised to a much higher level of complexity, communication, competence and confidence. The school will widen vocabulary, deepen meanings, teach conventional syntax and help with the standardization of the minority language, e.g. new terminology in information technology. The school also gives the minority language status, esteem and market value to its students. It is often more efficient to use the first language in a second language classroom, to convey content, to explain grammar, to provide a shortcut for giving instructions and explanations, to build on rather than denying existing understanding, to interlink home and school languages, to increase learning, and to create more authentic and natural situations that reflect the world outside the classroom. Cook, 2001. Wright, 2019a. This suggests that the strict separation of languages belongs to the 20th century, while the 21st century will see the deliberate and systematic use of both languages in the classroom. For example, a PowerPoint slide may present both languages on the screen, using the same content but using a different font or different color, arranged systematically so that students can easily understand using one language or both. Welsh Language Board, 2001. Translanguaging in a mainstream classroom with deaf students occurs when deaf students follow a talk through. Martin Jones, 2000, surveyed 3 decades of research on such interactions between students, and between students and teachers. She observed that bilingual classroom talk is best understood within the context and traditions of that school and class. Such situations provide clues and cues for expected and allowable patterns of talk. For example, code switching by the teacher may be used to signal the start of a lesson or a transition in the lesson, to specify an interaction with a particular student, or to move from teaching content to classroom management. Children also initiate code switching in the classroom, and have an influence on a teacher's use of 2 or more languages, and particularly the languages used in small group work and conversations with other students. The student's choice of which language to use and when tends to be reasonably regular and patterned and will reflect 1. The teacher's declared preference and management of languages, 2. A student's and peer group's proficiency or choice, or 3. A negotiation between teacher and child. A teacher's language choice tends to be more child-centered in the early years of schooling, for example when explanations, clarifications and checks on understanding are needed with young children, e.g. language minority children in mainstream, language majority classes. Classroom activities to foster cross-cultural competence can include enacting social conventions, the presentation of cultural rituals and traditions using authentic visual and written materials, discussing cultural variations, e.g. the colorful kaleidoscope of Latin American dances, festivals, customs and traditions, identifying the varying experiences and perspectives of the particular language variety, e.g. of French Canadians, of the French majority in France, of bilinguals in France, e.g. Bretons, Provençal, and classroom visits by native speakers of the language for question and answer sessions. It is important for bilingual classrooms to go beyond the surface-level features of cultures, e.g. food, holidays, dance, traditional costumes, etc., to deeper understandings of how culture frames one's understanding of and interactions with the world, how culture is dynamic, and the complex and ever-shifting relationships between language, identity and culture, especially as experienced by bilingual students, Valdiviso and Nieto, 2015.